1 in 5 Americans suffer from chronic pain. Many are now using CBD for relief.
Activists are hoping pot could be legalized nationwide by the end of 2019.
When you look at premium cannabis, the Illinois House approved legalizing recreational marijuana.
Welcome to The Budding Report, a weekly show centered around all things cannabis. Please join us in welcoming our host, Charles Horton, and his co-host, Melissa Nasits, as they share the latest in cannabis news, conduct interviews with top leaders in the cannabis space, and promote some of the latest in science and innovation. And now to our host, Charles Horton.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Budding Report. Here in Dallas, we started off the day at 36 degrees, and we're going to be up to 76 degrees a little later today, so I'm pretty happy about that. Melissa, how are you doing today? You enjoying the weather? Or?
I am, but not nearly as much as you look like you're about to. I read it, I'm like,
oh, come on, I see some knees.
I know I didn't wear tights today, but it is a turtleneck sweater, so we'll see. We'll see, but it's beautiful. The sun's shining, so another great day.
Christian, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Looks like I'm frozen up again, but at least on the flesh. It's pretty cold out in the Midwest. Cold mornings, cold days. Looking forward to returning in a couple weeks where it's warm in Phoenix.
And well, I'm looking forward to you getting a better connection, and I'm also so glad that you didn't freeze up, on one of those embarrassing booger poles or anything there. Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Charles. I'm actually out in Bastrop visiting my parents. Recently moved out here about an hour outside of Austin. And my toddler is kind of hanging out with them while I work, and then we're going to go back to Austin later today.
Well, when I lived in Austin, I spent a lot of time out at Bergstrom Air Force Base, which now is the Austin Airport, I believe. So
right.
I know that area well. Where our guest today, which we will do a better introduction in a minute, is Danny Murr-Sloat from AlpinStash and Andrew Serafini from Global Health Brands, in case they want to break into the news. But on that note, on the news, Chris, take it away. What's the news of the day?
Yeah, absolutely. So there was some good news out of Congress for once last week. Wasn't a stimulus bill, but what we did get was the House of Representatives passed the MORE Act, which we've been talking about quite frequently on this show. That's M-O-R-E, the Marijuana Opportunity Restitution and Expunction Act. And it was very interesting. The reason what we read about, what I want to focus on today is what my father calls kind of cannabis possibly bridging the red-blue divide. So we watched a speech by a very Trumpian Republican named Matt Gaetz. He was one of the 5 House of Representative Republicans who joined the Democrats in passing the MORE Act, which decriminalizes marijuana and basically legalizes it on a federal level. And while Matt Gaetz was against some of the aspects of the bill, he was a co-sponsor, but he was against parts of the bill, like the social engineering, he called it, where the MORE Act kind of helps communities of color because they've been decimated by the illegalization of marijuana. But what Matt Gaetz really emphasized that I think is important for getting marijuana legal is that this is a winning issue. And he told the other Republicans they need to get in line because the only thing that's less popular than the war on drugs is the war in Afghanistan. And so I think it's a survivalist mentality that if you're going to get elected, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat, you need to be backing popular bipartisan issues like the legality of marijuana. And I thought something else he said that was really striking was he talked about how he would unquestionably support the States Act, which actually goes much more to the core Republican principles. This party has gone from being about small government to being authoritarian, but there still are core conservatives there that are attracted to legislation like the States Act, which basically says that the federal illegalization of marijuana does not apply in states where they vote to make it legal. It's very much giving power back to the states. So that's an act that very much Republicans could get behind. And the final thing he said that I think was notable was that he said there's no way this is passing in the Senate. So I'm gonna be voting for this again in 2022, and maybe we'll pass it then in the Senate. But Mr. Gaetz is forgetting one thing. There is an election in Georgia coming up that Mr. Trump has been telling people not to go to because of fraudulent elections. And this could be a special election that if the Democrats win, marijuana will be legal federally in January.
Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense if you're a Republican to tell Republicans not to go vote. That kind of makes losing the Senate sure thing.
A done deal, yeah.
Doesn't make any sense now.
Yeah, I think we should encourage those Republicans not to go vote, Charles.
Now, Chris, I've always believed that it's really just a Democrat-Republican thing. I believe that most Republicans want to legalize marijuana as well. However, they don't want to do anything that's a Democrat initiative. Is that your belief or not?
Yeah, I think so. I think that I think that a lot of Republican support came from garnering it's a fact. They tried to garner a Christian right with being anti-abortion. And part of those beliefs have been a deep-seated hatred of drugs and a war on drugs. And I think that culture, it's hard to take that out of Republicans who have come from the 80s, the 90s, like a Mitch McConnell. And so when they see these what they call left liberals promoting the legalization of marijuana, their gut reaction is to say, no. So I do think that you're going to have to see. So I agree with you, Charles. Yes, it is basically if the Democrats are for it, we're against it. So we're going to have to start seeing one issue independents or independent-minded Democrats come up, challenge these Republicans, or have Republicans primary the Republicans that aren't for cannabis and run one-issue campaigns and make it a cannabis referendum. And then you can have more people like, and I hate saying that I want more people like Matt Gaetz, but I want more Republicans that are open-minded about cannabis and would join in this what should be a united American front in getting this legal and getting these draconian laws undone.
And didn't Mr. Gaetz, was he the one whose brother was actually on a criminal charge of marijuana?
That's a really good point, Melissa. That was in the article. That was actually a congressman named Riggleman had a brother that had that. Okay. So you're seeing that if Republicans are personally affected by this, they can change their mind. But yeah, that was a very compelling story, Melissa, about somebody that saw his brother just job prospects decimated by having this Republican congressman's brother's job prospects were decimated by having the marijuana conviction on his record, and he's talking a lot about signaling to the Republican Party something that's very appealing is lower taxes. Don't send all your money to prisons and special interest groups. That's a core conservative concept that conservatives should agree with. Waste. Nobody wants government waste. And imprisoning people for marijuana and ruining their job prospects hurts the economy and it hurts your pocketbook.
Well, Christian, as a fellow libertarian, I don't know about you, but the one thing that irritates me most about government is when things are on strictly party lines. Whatever the party agrees is how the vote goes. And I am encouraged when I see bills like this, where there is people that are going from one party to the other on the vote. What do you think, Christian?
Certainly agree with you on that point, Charles. And there are hopefully going to be more and more of these opportunities for parties to start working together when there's a collective nonpartisan issue that the population at large really wants moving forward. I think those that continue to resist it are going against really even their own self-interest, because eventually they will be removed, I think, from office. And these minority groups of more traditional old view Republicans, I think, will be replaced with younger Republicans when they see that it's just not a viable way to represent their constituency.
Well, Mitch McConnell is stating that he doesn't want to take this matter up right now because the stimulus bill is far more important. But what I'd like to encourage the Mitch McConnell to do is go ahead and bring it up really quickly. Let's get a vote. Let's pass it. Let's move on and get right back to stimulus, because that is certainly very important. But there's no reason not to pass this bill just like that. We just need it on the calendar.
Yeah.
Mr. McConnell, please do that. Well, we will be right back with Danny Murr-Sloat, and look forward to seeing you as we come right back.
Coming to you after our hike that we finished. Buster exercises 3 miles. Today is a recovery day because he did 8-mile hike over the weekend, broken up into 2. But what I want to share with you is this company here called Simple Changes. I learned about them and I absolutely love the concept. It's wellness, community, and organization. So as you can see here, I love the wrapping. I love purple, and it comes with 3 products. So I've been trying them out. First, it's the hemp oil spray, then it's the hemp oil dropper, and the hemp oil ball. So I'll be trying all of these out. I've been exploring them, exploring the ingredients. I met with the team on Zoom. Really, really, really neat product. And I love the fact that they also want to incorporate healthy practices. So they come with a little journal and something about simple success guide. So, simple changes. You're so entertained, huh? Papa. Hey, ready? Papa.
And we're back. And I'd like to welcome Danny Murr-Sloat. He is the co-founder of AlpinStash. He's inspired many with his stories of due to the consuming and cultivating of marijuana. In the fact that he lost over 70 pounds, he was able to wean himself off of 19 different medications, including opiates, due to medical issues, and eventually becoming a revered micro-cultivation brand in Colorado. Since 2014, he has steadily built the AlpinStash brand through his meticulously bred in-house cultivars, as well as cult favorite among connoisseurs. So his secret is keeping operations small scale and paying attention to the finest details and adding his personal touch to everything that he grows. So I'd like to kick off the questions with asking you, Danny, what actually defines craft cannabis?
Thank you for having me on, and that's a great question. For me, craft cannabis is small scale focus on quality. So everything that we do is well thought out and is done so that the end consumer has the best product. So that would be things like, cleanest smoke, consistent quality, great terpenes and flavors, and really the best that we can do, very similar to microbrew. And one other point about the intro is that my wife runs this company with me, and she puts as magical a touch on everything we do as I do.
That's great. Let's talk about your in-house brands, including like AlpinStash Originals. Which ones are your favorite and why?
That's so hard to choose. Currently we love Lemmiwinks, Cookie Confundo, Orange Chemsicle. Let's see, we have a new one called Little Sebastian that we really enjoy. I think having variety is the spice of life, and being able to constantly rotate in new product looks, bud structure, new flavors, new smells, and really new effects, and trying to dial in, what we like as cultivators and what we like as consumers, and then offering that to the general public really is, a treat, and it's really what drives me personally.
So jumping in really quick with another follow-up question on that before Christian goes. Sure. In Colorado, are you able to find types of cannabis that you really like and be able to find it consistently? Because I've noticed a lot of times when I find something, I can't find it again.
I think that depends on the cultivation. For us at the size that we are, we tend to, when we have a harvest, we sell out, and then that might be it for 3 months. So, one of the benefits of being so small is that we're able to, have these small batch things. But one of the issues is that, if you miss that drop, then we might be sold out for a while. So some of the bigger facilities that have kind of a more consistent harvest schedule, they offer, some of them do offer like standbys. And, if you find a brand that you like, you find a cultivation you like, you might be able to get something more consistently. Us personally, we are expanding because we really do want to be able to offer our fans and consumers in general, consistent access to our flower.
So it's kind of like shopping at Costco. If you see something that you want, you better buy it up. If you find a type of cannabis that you really like, you better buy as much of it as you can now, because it may not be available for a while.
Illegally up to an ounce.
So I'd like to take advantage of some of your expertise in cultivation. I think our audience would like to learn what it is and how to grow at home.
Yeah, so in my journey with cannabis and in my journey to health, cultivating, growing was really, really important to me. It was very, very therapeutic. It was after years of being, either in bed or at doctor's appointments, on all these medications, including at the time fentanyl, having something that I could put energy into that, gave me pain relief and sort of, like emotional and mental relief as well, was super important to me. And so to that end, we really do encourage and really do support people growing at home. And so we have a YouTube channel, AlpinStash, in which we go over some of our grow tips. And given how therapeutic the growing was for me personally, and how so many people now could really use some, form of therapies, especially something that gives back, we're really transitioning to, encourage people to grow at home, but also to help them do that. So, I encourage people to follow us on Instagram. We have grow tips there, our YouTube channel as well, and then to reach out, because really, growing is a passion and we want to empower people to do that. And we also want people to know, how much effort it does take to provide a good quality product. One of the things that we really dislike is the idea that, it's weed and it's so easy to grow. And I mean, it can be a little bit here and there, but, if you try to do it repeatedly, it's very, very, very tough. And I feel like the more people, get into the growing aspect, the happier they'll be as people, but the more that they can appreciate, all the effort that we put in to bring a craft product.
So Danny, Melissa referenced an inspirational story that led you into the cannabis industry. Do you mind sharing that with us?
Yeah, not at all. So, shortly after I turned 21, I had woke up with terrible stomach pains. I was hospitalized for 5 days, discharged with a prescription for Vicodin, told to follow up with various doctors, gastroenterologists. That kind of led to nothing else other than a script for more Vicodin. At that point, I was told to go see a physiatrist to try to treat the pain. That first appointment, and this was probably 2004 or 2005, I left with a script for fentanyl. And then from there, it was sort of a downward spiral, and not just a script for fentanyl, but a script for the time release and the instant release fentanyl. So a downward spiral of side effects, and then medication used to treat the side effects of those medications, and so on and so forth. I also developed a nerve impingement issue, which happened because because of all the fentanyl I was on. I was really sleeping 16 hours a day and not really moving in my sleep. And so I just sort of compressed an area in my neck and shoulder, series of surgeries for that. And then I developed a non-cancerous base of skull tumor, which had a pretty major surgery to get rid of that. So I was pretty, hopeless after 8 years of this. And like I mentioned earlier, really, really sedentary and stationary in my life, physically stuck, but also emotionally stuck. And in 2009, when medicinal cannabis became more widely available, I was encouraged by my father to give it a shot. I didn't really have many interactions between my high school years and this time in my life with cannabis. So I more or less out of desperation gave it a shot, and immediately found pain relief. And I also found, emotional relief from this depressed state I had been in. And knowing that there was something out there that gave me pain relief that was accessible, and then also having this, mental break from the state I was in, really encouraged me to, get my life back together, get off these medications. I used growing as a therapy, like I mentioned, to get out of bed, to do something involved, to do something physical. And, within a few months of this mindset of, I wanted to get better in the first place. And here I was given the tool to, not just physically, but emotionally. I took advantage of that. And at somewhere along that way, I realized, if this is something that's so helpful to me, if I can put my heart into it, maybe I can, give myself a profession. Because I had been so stuck for 8 or 9 years and in such a medical dark space, I didn't have any job skills. Part of the issue is I didn't have a path to reintegrate to society and a career. And so I had this epiphany that maybe if this is what I do and I do this to the best I can with the ethics that I hold dear, that this can be that path. And I got in the industry. In 2010, I had some negative experiences, both working as a bud tender and working on the cultivation side. and then decided to switch my path at that point to starting something, because I realized if I wanted to grow the way that I wanted to, focusing on these morals and that I hold dear and these products that I want to produce, that it's going to have to be me. And took horticulture classes, worked at grow stores to learn that supply to side of things. And then when I had my opportunity, to really try to get this up and going, that's what I went for 100%. And, cannabis gave me my health and it gave me my life. But, everything that I have now, from my wife to most of my friends,
that I'm a big advocate is to do what you love, so you love what you do. And you mentioned that, between natural healing and finding just your life back through all these things. But at the very end, you mentioned that you worked with your wife in this as well. So that's something that you're able to bring it home, literally. So what's your favorite part about working with your wife? I love that you're able to do this together.
Yeah, it definitely was, it took a while to mesh. When she started working for us, she was there at the beginning as my girlfriend and then became my fiance when she started working. And, now we're married and we have a 16-year-old who's running around screaming in the back. So you might hear that every once in a while. But, my favorite part, I think, of working with her is that, my couple favorite parts is, number one, I have a partner that we really do this together. And so all of the rewards we share together, all of the stresses, and there are so many stresses and, dips in the road, we also share together. So having that support team there for the good times and the bad times is, it just means everything. And the ability, to together build our dream is just, it means the world. We really, wouldn't be the company we are today without her. And I'm very thankful that we have this opportunity. We're very small anyways. We have 2 full-time employees and 1 part-time employee. So, it's the 5 of us, and, we just have the ability to put our mark on the product we do and we produce and do it with love and intention.
Well, Danny, I thank you so much for being on the show. One thing that I really enjoyed hearing is that you went all the way up to fentanyl on the opioid scale, and you're here to tell about it. I've lost so many friends from opioid addiction, so I'm glad you got off of it. Please reach out and contact Danny if you're interested in growing your own or you have other questions for him. Our guests love to be contacted. Look on the buddingreport.com, our website, and you can get Danny's contact information. Again, he would love to hear from you. Well, we will be right back after this commercial message.
Hello, coming to you from the outdoors where I do my heat training, and I did my repeats on the hills. It's actually pretty empty, but it's kind of close to 90 degrees. So that's when I squeeze in whenever I can, but I'm actually here to share what Simply Start, Simply Satisfy is. So this organic hemp oil, this is the serum Simply Start, and you can take it twice a day or once. I already took both of them in this morning, so now it's lunchtime. Real quick and easy, yummy, delicious, 30 calories. The other one is Simply Satisfy. So it's a spray and also 3 sprays. You could do it once a day or twice a day. Again, I did it this morning. I'm doing it now at lunch. It helps you take care of your health and wellness. So learn more about them. Remember, 3 simple changes on how you can incorporate into your life. You can learn more at the link below. So stay safe and keep moving, keep training, and take care of your spirit, mind, and body.
So up next, we have Andrew Serafini. He is the managing partner and chief education officer of Global Health Brands. Mr. Serafini is a former firefighter, medic, and pioneer in the medical cannabis and CBD industries. Since 2014, he has co-founded and launched several CBD companies and focuses on the importance of widespread education for patients and professionals alike while producing medically geared CBD for the products for management of acute and chronic illness. He holds several certificates and degrees, and alongside many of the brightest researchers and medical practitioners in integrative and cannabis medicine. So building a finished product business is difficult. So what have you done to push through these challenges and barriers with both the cannabis, the marketing limitations, and make this transition into a medical field?
Sure. Thank you for the introduction this morning, Melissa, and just so encouraged by Danny's story. My wife is also my business partner, and as far as this industry, we've been in it since 2014, and it's the stories like Danny's that we experience on a daily basis that really is the fuel in the tank, right? That keeps us going. There's just so many risks and marketing limitations and so many banking challenges. When you look at the finished product business from a compliance standpoint, standardization, it really takes the reward from the back end from patients and clients really getting the healing that they're looking for. We've focused a lot of our business actually outside of the United States, considering the kind of political volatility of cannabis and CBD over the last several years. We have a large contract in Brazil, working with a major brain institute over there and really looking at individual cannabinoid concentration with other adaptogens, like turmeric and goji berry and L-theanine. A lot of these adaptogens have a synergistic impact with cannabinoids. So we've really been focused on the medical aspects and driving what we can in terms of having products approved for essentially 10 health conditions in Brazil, and trying to bring that mentality here to the United States to really have an open sourced approach to healing with cannabis and CBD.
Well, I think you're going to be Christian and you are going to get along well in this discussion, since he is a doctor and that's what he focuses on in his practice. Many CBD companies have focused their efforts on the direct-to-consumer opportunity. Why did you focus on serving healthcare professionals and the medical vertical at large?
Yeah, having a medical background as a medic and coming from, corporate healthcare in a lot of ways, it really, my mindset is if we can impact the healthcare practitioner and the medical professional, that everything sort of trickles down from there. Also, as from a transparency standpoint, as everything that we produce has to be at the highest qualities and the highest levels, from certifications to ensuring that the chain of custody and all of our products is documented. And if we could reach the medical doctor and the healthcare professional that hasn't gotten a lot of this training, the endocannabinoid system and cannabis pharmacology, started in the early 90s. So when we look at medical schools that have adopted, curriculums, there's only a handful of schools that are actually teaching this kind of education. So we wanted to bring as much of this information and education to the medical community so they can start to service their patients and get this education and information out to as many people as possible.
I feel these are all great points, and my hat's off to your efforts, because I think it certainly takes individuals like you, all of us working together with that type of a goal. As I've said on many shows before, one of my major concerns is that if there is not a united enough front from the medical community to protect the, I think, rightful ownership of cannabinoid medicine where it is at now, and not prevent pharma from trying to essentially remove that right, we're gonna see a lot of issues in the future that are not going to be positive. And so, with that kind of an introduction, why do you feel specifically that your products are superior in their safety and quality enough to push this front, targeting physicians and other healthcare professionals?
When the industry had, let's just look at the last decade, there's hasn't been a lot of standardization when it comes to testing, when it comes to looking at, finished products and how they're being processed. So, as from 2014 on, we really started looking at developing that infrastructure and being able to bring very high level products that are really based off of scientific evidence and research. An example is using, terpenes like beta-caryophyllene. Beta-caryophyllene modulates the CB2 receptor much like THC does, but without the psychoactive component. So when patients that may not be looking for a euphoric feeling or a stoned feeling from THC, we can really up the levels of beta-caryophyllene and mimic a lot of the effects that THC does, just without the psychoactive elements that THC provides. So really utilizing that sort of mindset, and then looking at, the 26,000 plus studies that have been done on cannabinoids perspective to different health conditions and different aspects of health. really looking at dosages, looking at understanding how do we develop these products in such a way that it's going to provoke a therapeutic effect for a specific health condition that we're trying to attack.
Yeah, and I think that speaks volumes because, as you know, our audience, our members on the show all know that there's a wide spectrum of both safety and quality of products, and unfortunately, a lot of the available products that are sold, at gas stations all the way up to, more kind of affluent grocery stores, it still is, in my opinion, not that great. And
correct.
Again, I think we should speak further, after the show. I'm excited about what you're doing. I know Chris wants to ask some questions, but I applaud your efforts so far.
Thank you, Christian. It's working with doctors like you, and it's been really, really encouraging to see physicians and healthcare practitioners porting over from traditional medicine to functional, to integrative medicine, where these types of modalities are being much used more often.
Yeah, Andrew, keeping on the medical discussion, I read that 8 of the cytogen products are approved as medicine in Brazil and are written by a doctor's prescription. Would you be able to tell us about what type of health ailments are approved to be treated like that in Brazil, and what area these doctors are focusing on?
Yeah, of course. CBD really began to get its notoriety around intractable seizures, Dravet and Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. And so Brazil has been in the game since about 2015 and using CBD as a medical application. And that was really used for 2 conditions at that point, CBD was, and that's expanded out to now 10 health conditions, conditions like cancer and Parkinson's, Huntington's, ADD, and mental health conditions, chronic pain. I mean, there's about 10 different, even fibromyalgia. So the medical community in Brazil is really taking a hard look at, and we're seeing really just incredible results in the neurological applications. Not only in seizure activity, but in helping mitigate depression and anxiety, a number of different areas where we can really start to measure the clinical and functional uses of cannabinoids. So as you mentioned, our products are written as a doctor's prescription. And so we can really start to look at, from an analytical standpoint, what sort of dosages in products are working in, populations of patients that are, struggling with a specific health condition. Just gives us a very targeted approach, and then having that interaction with the medical community really brings things above board from a transparency level.
Andrew, one of my employees asked me this weekend, first of all, they said there's one certain brand, I won't say the name, that's done a really good job in marketing as to be the brand to help with cancer and other issues like that. So first of all, I was interested in your thoughts on that. And second of all, how can consumers buy your product direct, and how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, my take on this is really everybody's independent health and their physiology is different. So for a brand to make a statement that their brand is the best for a specific health condition doesn't fit the bill. I think this is going to take a tribe for us to all move the needle in the direction it goes. CBD is a natural derivative. So really, we start to look at how do we custom tailor products to specific populations of patients. So, with that said, it really, it takes that, there's several good brands out there and there's good products on the market. But as we really try to raise the bar in innovation and using, competition, but also complementary strategies, as we're trying to really get cannabis and CBD out to the marketplace at large, it really requires us working in collaboration as opposed to, in competition. Our products are sold to healthcare practitioners and licensed professionals. We do have a brand of direct-to-consumer products as well, so we can reach the open market. And those products can be found at www.hempmindandbody.com. And all of our products are all, produced at, medical grade, in medical grade facilities and with the quality and safety that we use for our medical products.
Christian, I'd love your thoughts on that question as well.
Yeah, I would expand on that by saying, as far as I'm concerned, if there are not some type of published studies on this, it's just a claim, right? So one of the reasons that I've been very slow in moving forward with what I'm doing is because I want to perform and ideally publish at least case studies in peer-reviewed journals demonstrating the effectiveness of these CBD-based formulations. Otherwise, it just comes down to marketing. I think there's tremendous potential for intelligent cannabinoid medicine, but I really want to caution getting taken in by a very clever marketing campaign if, in fact, that product specifically has not been tested on patients, whether they cite other literature. If that specific product has not been tested on patients and ideally published, I don't think they really have much to stand on when they make such wide claims as were mentioned.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I was just going to say, Dr. Shaw, with even with the AMA and different market studies that have been done relative to products, that 80% plus of the products on the market don't have what they have, say it's on the bottle. Some of them didn't even have any CBD in them. They're not in compliance. So when we look at marketing and driving a message around efficacy, unless there's medical evidence and clinical support, again, it's just hot air.
Well, Andrew, I appreciate you being on. Again, you can get Andrew's contact information at thebuddingreport.com. He'd love to hear from you. Our guests love to network and work together. We're in a time right now where we're not getting together at conventions and trade shows, and so please don't be shy. Use your phones, send an email, and reach any of our guests, and you can always get their contact information all the way back to our first show at our website, thebuddingreport.com. Join us next week when our guests include Leslie Boxscore of Electrum Partners and Thomas Shakenberg of Bloom Hemp. Let's hope I pronounced those names right. We appreciate you joining us for the show. And again, Danny and Andrew, thanks for being on. Christian and Chris, thank you for being great co-hosts. Always love to do this show with all of you with the energy that you bring. And of course, the very lovely Melissa, who I just love to be in here with and hate it when I'm in Hawaii and can't
all right.
Can't be on the stage with you.
I'd still take Hawaii. I know you would too, so it's okay.
Well, thanks everybody and have a great week.